Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Shahid here. I am former CSS officer and currently serving as Director KIPS CSS program. Dear aspirants, today I am going to give you a talk on United Nations. And I will discuss it under 8 topics: introduction, objectives of United Nations, organs and structure of Security Council, performance. I will analyze the performance in Cold War, post-Cold War and post-9/11 phase. Then I will analyze the whole situation, and then the 21st century, why you need reforms and what kind of reforms are required, and then I will go for the conclusion. So, starting with the introduction, United Nations was constituted in 1945 with the sole objective to establish international peace and security. I mean global peace and security. And this was not the first experiment which was done by the humanity to promote global peace. In fact, the same experiment had already been done after the end of the First World War, and League of Nations was established. After the end of the First World War, in 1918-1919, League of Nations was established, and the objective of League of Nations was the same: to avoid the future wars among the nations and to promote international peace. Now, that experiment was done in the backdrop of the devastation which took place during the First World War, which continued right from 1914 to 1918. And League of Nations failed to achieve the objective, and what happened in 1939, we saw the eruption of the Second World War, and therefore the League of Nations lost its function and it was dismantled. Then during Second World War, once again, the 3 big leaders of that time, Stalin, Winston Churchill and Roosevelt, they continued their negotiation that what kind of structure should be constituted again after the war is over to promote international peace and security. So as soon as the Second World War ended, United Nations came into being at the San Francisco Conference in 1945. So after the establishment of United Nations, what were the objectives? The objectives were the same: to promote international peace and security. Number 2, to avoid the wars between the nations, because the humanity had already seen the millions of casualties and the destruction in the First World War and Second World War. And now the international community was haunted. It was terrified, did not want to have any war in future. Therefore, United Nations was entrusted with the task not to have wars in future, and the future generations, they should be saved from this menace. And so international peace and security, and to promote the dialogue and negotiation among the belligerent nations, and then to work on preventive diplomacy. Preventive diplomacy means that before the wars erupts or the conflict erupts, you should try to prevent it before. So these were some of the objectives of Security Council, United Nations. Now, number 3, organs and the structure of Security Council. Organs means, you can say, departments. There is Secretariat, there is Economic and Social Council, there is International Court of Justice, there is General Assembly, and there is Security Council. Now, the most important structure or organ of the United Nations is Security Council. Security Council is the smallest body. If you say this is a General Assembly, where all the nations, they have their representatives, okay, and then there was a short structure of Security Council, and Security Council had a unique feature. It was not a democratic structure. There were 5 permanent members and 10 members which were temporary ones. And Security Council is important because it was entrusted with the task of establishing peace and security. The other organs which I have named before, they were not to deal with the peace and security. So it was only Security Council which was given the task to control the wars and to promote peace and harmony. Therefore, most of the discussion in the remaining lecture would be revolving around the performance and the analysis of the Security Council. According to the Security Council has been given this task according to Chapter 7 of United Nations Charter. And the Articles 39 to 50, they deal with the threat to peace and security, the breach of the settlements, and what action to take. Now, Security Council, so it is the decision-making body. It is the powerhouse of the United Nations. General Assembly, it is a big chamber, but it cannot take any decision regarding peace and security. It can only make recommendations to the Security Council. So this small body is of utmost importance. And its structure was unique in the sense that there were 15 members, out of which 5 are considered as the permanent members. They are believed to be the victors of the Second World War. And then China, because of population and because it was nuclear state. So these big 5, they had a unique power which is known as veto. Veto means if Security Council wants to pass a resolution or it wants to implement a decision, it must have the concurrence का मतलब है रजामंदी. It must have the concurrence of these 5 permanent members. These 5 permanent members, they were America, Soviet Union, France, United Kingdom, and China. And the Security Council, in fact, we will see in the subsequent lecture, that Security Council was paralyzed because of the rivalries and jealousies of these big 5s. And these big 5s, they were in fact, they dominated the Security Council and they wanted to reshape the world according to their own objectives. And they did not take interest in the global interest, but in fact they always promoted their own national interest, or they always looked at things from their own prism. And therefore, Security Council was unfortunately a playground of the politics of these big 5s. Whatever decision they wanted to avoid, they would simply veto it, they would simply reject it. And that was the reason that Security Council could never act democratically or independently. And it was always, you can say, dependent on the decision of the big 5s, permanent members. And now, in order to understand and analyze the performance of Security Council, first of all, let's see the things under Cold War period, post-Cold War period, and post-9/11 phase period, how Security Council has performed and whether it was able to meet with its objective or charter, I would say no. Although there are some pluses of the United Nations Security Council, that it has been involved in aggressive diplomacies, it has been involved in financing of the countries, it has been involved in eradicating the poverty and improving the overall infrastructure of the countries. It has always been active during disasters. And one of the biggest achievement of United Nations is that there was no Third World War. So it avoided the emergence of Third World War. So beside these performance, okay, I have to analyze the performance of Security Council from the sole perspective of international peace and security, whether it was able to avoid the war. So I would say no. Take the example of Cold War. Cold War, what happened in Cold War? We saw two blocks of the world, one American and the other Soviet bloc. And most of the conflicts, they were because of the Cold War between both these superpowers. And I can recall Korean War, 4 years, then there was 11 years Vietnam War, then there were 8 years war in Afghanistan because Soviet Union invaded, then there was 8-year war between Iran and Iraq, then the Palestinian issue, it continued, there were a couple of wars, 47, 67 and 73 wars, then there were war between Pakistan and India on the issue of Kashmir. And so I would say that the world remained turbulent and full of conflicts, and there was not much that United Nations could have done proactively or could have stopped these wars or prevented these conflicts. Although it acted later on, it promoted diplomacy, mediation, and deploying peacekeeping forces. But the main purpose is peacemaking, not peacekeeping, peacemaking, okay, that there should be no war. Similarly, in post-Cold period, again we see two major conflicts. One was the Gulf War, when Kuwait was captured by Saddam Hussein and the Americans, they liberated Kuwait. That was Gulf War. And finally, Bosnian crisis. Again, we see United Nations remained a kind of spectator during these conflicts. Now, when we come to the latest part of the history, that is post 9/11 2005, I consider the United Nations almost lost its relevance, in the world. And with the passage of time, United Nations became more and more redundant and irrelevant. And let me give you some of the examples in 9/11 2001. First of all, Afghanistan was invaded, and yes, it was Security Council which gave the signal, which took the decision that Afghanistan is a place for global insecurity. So coalition forces or the combined forces of the members of Security Council, United Nations, they should attack Afghanistan. And later on, Afghanistan situation could not be controlled. You could see that the American these forces, they bogged down for 20 years, and the situation did not improve, and the stability could not come in Afghanistan. Then we talk of Iraq. It is very interesting that when Iraq war took place, America attacked Iraq without taking the concurrence or mandate from the Security Council. Actually, there was a conflict between the members of the Security Council. America wanted to attack Iraq, and it put certain allegations on Saddam Hussein that he is constructing weapons of mass destruction, he is a global terrorist, he has friendship with Osama bin Laden, he is a threat to the whole world. but there were no evidences. So when America wanted to pass the resolution to get the mandate to attack on Saddam Hussein, 2 to 3 states, they questioned America's allegations on Saddam Hussein. France, China and Russia, they wanted that America should provide substantial evidences or proof of these allegations which have been put on Saddam Hussein, and America did not have any proof. So when America saw that if it is going to bring the resolution in Security Council, obviously it would be vetoed by these 3 states, or America will not get permission. So America, first time in the history, bypassed Security Council, bypassed United Nations. It did not consider it and attacked Iraq. So this was first time in the history when United Nations or Security Council, right, were not taken into the confidence. It was so unfortunate. And in fact, at that time, the American Secretary of State, Albright, she said that everything is right irrelevant as far as America's power, prestige and position is concerned. And in order to safeguard right these things, we are not going to consider any other institution in the world. So that could show that what was the significance of United Nations or Security Council for Americans, and they let down Security Council and humiliated it without taking the mandate from it. Then Libya, again we saw Libya, the Americans or the Western countries, they got the license with the name humanitarian intervention, and this license again they were able to get from Security Council, and they attacked Muammar Gaddafi, and again the whole country was devastated. So again United Nations was forced by these 5 permanent members to give them the right on the basis of humanitarian intervention, that they wanted to save the humanity. What happened in Iraq? America attacked, destroyed Iraq, and what about human rights? And the people, they were left in lurch. And in Libya again, it went into a failed state. And people, they still, it's a playground of various factions which are fighting. So the purpose of attacking some country is not that you should destroy and that you should leave it in a devastating position.